If I was revising last minute for paper one, the first thing I'd do is make sure I know my exam structure inside out. So you've got a 4 marker, a 9 marker, a 25 marker, and a 2 marker, and then a 15 marker and a 25 marker. The first thing I'd do is I'd go through every question and just make sure I know which ones I'm picking, because you'll have 2 options for this section with an extract and 3 options for this section. Make sure you know the exam structure for a 4 marker. So there's model answers on the site, and you've got 2 significant points of comparison. So the first thing you want to do is just look for the highest and the highest, or the lowest and the lowest. And then you could look for other things like the range or a peak, or like the overall trend being going upwards with one thing and the overall trend going downwards on another thing. So just look out for those. The 9 and the 15 marker are exactly the same, except the 15 marker is 2 big paragraphs or 3 small paragraphs. There's no evaluation in either of these. You're just using chains of reasoning, and you're using a diagram, and you might use 2 diagrams, and you're explaining what they ask you to explain. Once that's covered, we could focus on the 25 marker. So if we look back, so if we look at recent papers for the A-level economics for AQA, last year's paper had privatization in it. Last year's paper had market structures in it, poverty in it, and cars, which were a demerit good, in it. So I would say it's almost less likely that privatization or nationalization would come up again, although it definitely could. So I'm not saying to avoid anything, but I'm saying if you're stuck and you're only going to revise 2 or 3 things today in detail, I'd recommend you to use the fact that demerit goods came up and revise merit goods. So for example, instead of looking at last year's paper, 2 years ago, a question came up saying that should internet be state provided free of charge to everybody? So if we were to replace internet connection with something like, should childcare be provided free of charge to everybody? Or should there be more housing provided free of charge to everybody? Or dental care, rather than charging for dental care, should dental care be provided free of charge to everybody? Those kind of questions. Or if we go back to 2020, we've got a question which says, assess the policies that might be used to improve the provision of social care. And that question could easily be replaced by childcare or dental care or even housing. So for example, in terms of state provision, you've got things like libraries. Libraries are state provided for free, and there's benefits of this and there's also disadvantages of this. So look into that, and also just look through like this model answer maybe, or some of my videos. Secondly, you always have a pay gap question or a labor markets question in one form or another. So we've had gender pay gaps, we've had the ethnic pay gap, and last year in 2023, we had a question about like, is strong monopoly power good, or should we implement like trade union power and like minimum wages and stuff like that? But in general, the points are quite similar. So you could look through this model answer about a gender pay gap and implement similar policies. So we've got a minimum wage, we've got how a minimum wage impacts a monopoly market differently, and we've got also creative policies like education and training, which might shift the demand for labor up to the right. Market structures, I would honestly just revise every single market structures. It could be any of them. Just know the pros and cons and the diagrams of every single market structure. And then lastly, inequality. I'd probably focus mostly on, is inequality good or bad? And I've got a video recently posted which goes through that. So inequality is good because you could argue that inequality might be deserved, because maybe a heart surgeon earns a lot more money than somebody else because they are more skilled than other people. So then it's fair. And then also the inequality creates incentives for people to chase jobs which are more demanded by society. So that's just the market mechanism working. On the other hand, inequality causes externalities like more crime or more anxiety or more stress. And furthermore, inequality is a burden on society because those who are earning less money contribute less to tax, and also might claim more benefits, and also are stronger users of state provided services like libraries or doctors or schools. So I'd basically focus on those four main things. So those are merit goods, government interventions, government failure. Second is pay gaps, maybe regional pay gaps in particular with you've got work from home, which could be an evaluation point. Then third we've got is inequality good or bad? And by doing that, you cover other parts of inequality anyway. So you could do an hour each of these. And then you've got market structures, like basically just know all the market structures inside out.